In our quest to understand what happens after death, every culture, ancient or modern, has crafted its own vision of the afterlife. Ancient Persia, too, was deeply intrigued by this enigma, offering one of the most captivating and compassionate answers. The contemplation of mortality is a thread that runs through the tapestry of human existence. It weaves its way not only into the scriptures of world religions but also into the greatest literary works. For instance, the Mesopotamian epic of Gilgamesh, considered the world's oldest epic tale, revolves around finding meaning in life when confronted with the inevitability of death. Countless works of literature have grappled with this very dilemma. Shakespeare's Hamlet encapsulates this concern in his famous line, "The undiscovered country, from whose bourne/no traveler returns, puzzles the will." Yet, Hamlet is merely one of the eloquent voices pondering an issue that could be seen as the underlying preoccupation of humankind. Death, in its inevitability, defines our existence, and what lies beyond has inspired a multitude of vivid conceptions of the afterlife. From the ancient Egyptian field of reeds to the Greek Hades, various cultures have painted their own pictures of life after death. Among these, the familiar notions of heaven and hell, though commonly associated with Christianity and Islam today, were, in fact, an ancient Persian creation. Alongside influences from other cultures, Persian ideas contributed to the visions of these faiths. For instance, the Catholic concept of purgatory, a place for souls whose good and bad deeds balanced each other out, was previously imagined by the Persians in their Hemistaken, where such souls would remain until the end of time when they'd be reunited with Ahura Mazda. The early Persian view of the afterlife resembled that of Mesopotamia, a somber realm of shadows. However, this perception underwent revisions and embellishments, transforming one's death into a moment of triumph or despair and ultimately providing meaning to life beyond the mortal coil. The ancient Persians' religious beliefs made their way to the Iranian region through migrations originating in Greater Iran, encompassing the Caucasus, Central Asia, South Asia, and West Asia, around the 3rd millennium BCE. The original form of this faith remains shrouded in mystery, but it is believed to have been influenced by the Elamites and the people of Susiana, pre-existing settlers in the region. At its inception, Persian religion was polytheistic, featuring a pantheon of deities, with Ahura Mazda as the foremost powerful god. This oral belief system evolved over time, and much of our knowledge comes from works written well after the prophet Zoroaster's reforms, c. 1500 to 1000 BCE. Understanding which aspects were pre-Zoroastrian is challenging, but later Zoroastrian works like the Avesta, Vendidad, and Bundahism offer insights into earlier beliefs. Nevertheless, certain post-Zoroastrian concepts appear to have been retroactively applied to the older model, leaving us to speculate on what might have been replaced. In its early days, Persian religion encompassed a pantheon of deities, each overseeing specific domains. Mithra, for example, presided over the rising sun, covenants, and contracts, while Anahita was the goddess of fertility, water, health, healing, wisdom, and at times, war. The world teemed with spirits, both benevolent and malevolent. Supernatural beings like the Peri, fairies, and genies, held sway over human thoughts and actions. In the realms of Persian belief, gods inhabited the celestial sphere, diligently caring for and shielding humans from the menacing forces of evil, later known as the Devas. The chief antagonist in this divine drama was Angra Mainyu, a malevolent spirit with an unrelenting vendetta against Ahura Mazda and the other benevolent gods. Although Angra Mainyu couldn't entirely thwart the grand design of the gods, he tirelessly labored to disrupt it at every conceivable juncture. In response, Ahura Mazda, the supreme deity, employed his formidable powers not for destruction, but rather to craft positive outcomes from adversity. One significant episode in this celestial struggle involved the creation of the primordial bull, Gavavodata, by Ahura Mazda. Angra Mainyu, true to his malevolent nature, slew this majestic creature. Undeterred, Ahura Mazda elevated the bull's lifeless form to the moon, purifying it in the process. From this sanctified seed, all the animals on earth were born, embodying the potential for life to emerge from destruction. Similarly, when Ahura Mazda shaped the first human, Gayomartan, Angra Mainyu ruthlessly snuffed out his life. Yet, from the purified essence of Gayomartan, a new mortal couple emerged, Mashia and Mashia Nag. These two fortunate souls dwelled in an idyllic paradise, living in harmony with their divine creator and the natural world. However, Angra Mainyu soon poisoned their minds with deceit, convincing them that he, not Ahura Mazda, was their true creator. Consequently, they were cast out of their heavenly abode, marking the introduction of death into the world and the advent of finite lifespans for humanity. Yet, even in this dire circumstance, Ahura Mazda managed to extract a positive outcome. Each human was granted the autonomy to choose between following the path of good or succumbing to the allure of evil. This choice, Ahura Mazda decreed, would provide ultimate meaning to human existence, the opportunity to live virtuously in the service of good or to descend into the clutches of malevolence. Upon a person's passing, their soul lingered near their lifeless body for 3 days before embarking on a journey to the subterranean realm of the dead. This somber land, akin to the Mesopotamian concept of the realm of Ereshkigal, was cloaked in eternal twilight, where souls roamed in perpetual shadow. King Yima, the first illustrious mortal king, governed this realm. Initially favored by the gods, Yima's downfall occurred through the cunning of Angra Mainyu. Like Ereshkigal, Yima's chief purpose was to retain the souls of the departed in his domain while keeping the living at bay. In common with many belief systems, the existence of these departed souls hinged entirely on the prayers and remembrance of the living. The period immediately following a person's demise was viewed as the most precarious for the soul, vulnerable to demonic attacks in its disoriented state. Hence, a solemn ritual called the Sagdid, glance of the dog, emerged. During this rite, a dog was brought into the presence of the deceased to ward off malevolent spirits. Dogs were revered as the ultimate protectors against evil entities because they possessed a unique ability to perceive what eluded human senses. Their barks were believed to repel these malevolent spirits. The dog was introduced 3 times, and if at any point it hesitated or seemed unwilling, it indicated that the entity had not been driven away. In such cases, the ritual continued, sometimes up to 9 times, until it was deemed the spirit had departed and the body could be prepared for burial. Upon the death of an individual, there were 2 predominant practices for handling the remains. Some were buried, while the more common method involved placing the deceased on an outdoor scaffold, now known as the Tower of Silence. Here, the body would be exposed to the elements and scavengers until it was thoroughly picked clean. Once this process was complete, the purified bones were reverently interred. As this was transpiring, the soul of the departed embarked on a significant journey in the realm of Yima. The precise timing of this phase in the afterlife is somewhat unclear, but at some point, the soul would be required to cross a dark river, symbolically known as the crossing of the separator. This event was pivotal, as it signified the separation of good souls from malevolent ones, determining their respective destinations. It is plausible that this event transpired upon the initial arrival of the deceased from the earthly realm, symbolizing their separation from the living world and their entry into Yima's realm. The crossing of the separator might have involved Mithra in his role as the god of covenants, as it would have been perceived that the soul had a covenant with its creator, Ahura Mazda. Those who had faithfully upheld this covenant by leading virtuous lives were deemed worthy of rewards, while those who had strayed and succumbed to the deceptions of Angra Mainyu faced consequences. References indicate that Mithra held the scales, weighing an individual's good deeds against their transgressions, leading to either reward or punishment. Additionally, angels like Roshnu, the eventual judge of the dead, and Surush, a guardian angel, might have played roles in this process, although their roles may have evolved over time. Once in the afterlife, it fell to the living to honor the memory of the departed. The first year held particular significance, as the soul acclimated to its new existence, likely feeling adrift and lonely. Thus, it required extra attention from the living. Primary responsibility for these rites fell to the next of kin. Remembrance ceremonies extended for up to 30 years or until the passing of the next of kin. These rituals encompassed the preparation of food for the deceased, the offering of prayers and sacrifices for their well-being, and especially, remembrance on New Year's Eve, believed to be a time when the souls of the departed returned to visit. Sometime between approximately 1500 to 1000 BCE, a pivotal moment unfolded when a priest named Zoroaster received a life-altering vision. By the banks of a river, he was visited by a luminous being identifying itself as Vohumana, meaning good purpose. This celestial messenger revealed a radical revelation to Zoroaster. The prevailing religious beliefs of the Persians were erroneous. There existed only one god, Ahura Mazda, while all other deities were mere emanations of this supreme being. Zoroaster fervently embraced this divine message, becoming its prophet and tirelessly spreading it among the people. However, he faced rejection, threats, and was ultimately forced to leave his homeland. His initial convert, traditionally recognized as his cousin, did little to sway the broader acceptance of his revelation. It was only when he succeeded in converting King Vishtaspa, who in turn persuaded his entire realm to adopt Zoroastrianism, that the faith gained traction and influence. Ahura Mazda was now firmly established as the supreme god, with Angra Mainyu as his eternal adversary. The previous understanding that humans needed to choose which deity to serve during their earthly existence now took on profound significance. Free will bestowed upon humanity the power to shape their values and life's trajectory. Life became a profound battle between the forces of good and evil, with each individual, at birth, tasked with choosing a side. By embracing Zoroaster's vision, one dedicated themselves to embodying the principles of good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. These individuals sought to cultivate friendships even with adversaries, practice charity towards all, and live virtuous lives guided by the pursuit of truth and righteousness. In the evolving tapestry of Zoroastrianism, we find profound beliefs about the journey of the soul in the afterlife. While aspects of these beliefs may have existed before Zoroaster, they are often attributed to his influence and are clearly delineated in post-Zoroastrian teachings. From the moment of birth, a person's soul, known as Irvan, was dispatched into the material world by their higher self, the Fravashi. This earthly journey was seen as an opportunity to experience the physical realm and to fight in the name of good. The Fravashi served as a guiding force throughout life and awaited the soul upon its transition from this world to the next. Upon death, the Irvan remained near the deceased's body for 3 days. During this time, the gods assessed the individual's lifetime of deeds, weighing their good against their bad. On the 4th day, the Irvan embarked on a pivotal journey to the Chinvat Bridge, spanning the realm between the living and the dead. There, it would be reunited with its Fravashi. The Chinvat Bridge was a critical juncture. It was guarded by 2 dogs that welcomed the righteous and snarled at the wicked. The Irvan, now in the presence of its Fravashi, encountered Dana, the holy maiden. To the just, she appeared as a beautiful young woman, to the condemned, a withered hag. The angel Surush emerged to protect the soul against demonic assaults from the abyss and to guide it safely across the bridge. For the righteous, the crossing was wide and facile, while for the wicked, it was narrow and arduous. At the bridge's end stood the angel Roshnu, who had received the record of the individual's good and bad deeds and would now deliver judgment. In this process, one's conscience played a vital role, determining their ultimate fate, whether toward righteousness or deceit. Zoroaster himself served as an associate judge alongside Ahura Mazda, and through the counsel of righteousness, they would separate the wise from the unwise. For the righteous, the journey would continue upwards to one of the 4 ascending levels of paradise, culminating in the heaven of eternal light, where they would dwell in the radiant company of Ahura Mazda. Conversely, descending from the lowest heaven were 4 dark hells. Roshnu would allocate each soul to its deserving place, and it is believed that the soul itself would recognize the justice of this placement. The hell of eternal darkness, situated at the lowest point in the house of lies, was a place of torment, perpetual isolation, and profound loneliness. Despite the severity of these beliefs, there remained hope for the salvation of every soul, even the most tainted ones. Ahura Mazda, in his boundless compassion, could not bear the notion of any soul eternally lost. According to this vision, a Messiah known as the Seosciant, meaning one who brings benefit, would emerge in time. This heralded the Frashokareti, or the end of time, wherein the world as humanity knew it would cease to exist. All souls would be gathered to Ahura Mazda. Even those in the House of Lies would find liberation, and Angra Mainyu, the evil spirit, would be vanquished. In this glorious culmination, all would be reunited with their loved ones, living in perpetual peace and harmony with Ahura Mazda. Regrettably, this vision of the afterlife and Zoroastrianism itself faced suppression in Persia following the Muslim Arab invasion and the fall of the Sasanian Empire in 651 CE. Zoroastrians experienced persecution, their sacred altars were desecrated, libraries were set ablaze, and mosques were erected in the once hallowed places. Nevertheless, these Zoroastrian beliefs about death and the afterlife continued to influence the emerging Islamic vision, just as they had previously impacted early Christian and Judaic thought. The Persian concepts of a singular God, leading a virtuous life based on moral principles, personal responsibility for one's soul and salvation, the notion of an afterlife offering both paradise and hell, a post-mortem judgment, and the expectation of a messianic figure all predated the development of these three major religions. One of the most intriguing Persian contributions to Islam is the reinterpretation of the Chinvat bridge in the Hadiths. In Islamic tradition, Hadiths are accounts outside of the Quran that chronicle the life of the Prophet Muhammad and include his beliefs, customs, and practices. For instance, the Hadith of Bukhari describes the as-Sirat, the bridge to paradise. This perilous bridge must be crossed by believers, Muslims, alone, as all other souls are destined for hell due to their rejection of the faith. The bridge is depicted as slippery, thin as a hair and sharp as a sword, laden with thorns, clamps, hooks, and barbs to impede the journey. Furthermore, the bridge initially widens but narrows dramatically, hovering over the fires of hell. The devout souls may traverse it with ease, while most others will struggle. In essence, every religious response to Hamlet's ponderings regarding the uncharted territory beyond death reflects the unique culture that conceives it. The Persian vision, with its emphasis on leading the best possible life in accordance with the loftiest moral principles and the inclusive concept of ultimate salvation, stands as one of the most admirable and inspiring in the annals of human belief. Though no one can ascertain its absolute truth, the beauty of this vision kindles hope that it might be, or ought to be, real. Ultimately, hope for an afterlife marked by reunion with lost loved ones is the most positive response to the enigma of death.